Socrates did not believe that philosophy can be written down, which I think is very true. Plato stated that despite having written this big, fat book called the Dialogues and then the Republic, that he never really truly wrote down what philosophy is. It's just a bunch of ideas. So it comes from two words, philo and sophia. Philo means love. It's one of those components that is like alchemy. Rumi has this wonderful saying in his book that when Jesus was going to Jerusalem, he was sitting on a donkey and people were celebrating. And so he asks, why is it that a great man, for those of you who may believe that he is God, fine. For those of you who may believe that he's a prophet, he's a great philosopher, that's good too, nothing wrong with that. That why is it that despite Jesus sitting on the donkey was not transformed into this wise animal? He remained a donkey. Why? Because you grab dialogues of Plato and you hold and you read it, you may be nothing but a donkey who just carries information. You may read the Bible, and it doesn't mean, and you can call yourself a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist or a this or a that, but it may very well be true that you're nothing but simply a donkey carrying ideas or concepts you hardly understand. So, love is this magic, and you can't fall in love. It has to be created. I know Westerners very much enjoy saying all the time, I have fallen in love with A, B, C, D, and it's great. It doesn't work that way. And you fall in love, and you express this emotion in a variety of different categories. So, let me explain. This stick man or stick woman, or maybe neither man nor woman, or both man and woman, the moment they're born, and let's just say they're relatively healthy, they come with 5 senses. These senses are the eyes, the ears, the nose, the touch, and the taste. Their function is to give you experiences. Now, because we are pleasure-seeking animals, and we don't really know what to do with painful events, all of life experiences are categorized into 2 branches, positive and negative. Those that are in the middle, we call them to be indifferent. In other words, you can either have them or you don't really have to have them. You don't really much care. They have to stick to you in some shape or form. All of life, we have a tendency of categorizing it as either positive or negative. Now, what is positive? You want it to be repeated. What is negative? You want to make sure it never walks into your life. It's not very difficult to understand human beings if you understand the science of this. Sometimes that which is negative, if it keeps happening to you, there comes a point where you are paralyzed, you are broken, you sit somewhere and you say, how can I figure a way out of this? You can't, you fall into depression. Eventually, something clicks and you begin to unpack the negative experience. And out of this, you have insights, you have clarity. And what was once negative becomes positive. So it's really, really important to suspend judgment on experiences. But that's not something we can do naturally, organically. You have to be trained because we are reactive animals. Sometimes you have positive experiences. You go to a party, you see someone, you like them. You hang out with them. Then you say, I love you. They say, I love you back. 2 months later, it's a disaster. So something that is positive, eventually time will reveal it's a negative thing. But if you want to go to the basics, all things that enter into your senses, either positive or negative. What all of this does for us is create experiences. Experience creates history. History creates identity. You don't have a soul. Your senses now live in the cradle of the space in which you occupy. I am from Iran. From age 0 to 11, my ears always heard the Quran being recited through the speakers. My eyes only saw women being veiled. The food was only traditional Persian dishes. The cartoons I watched, simple, basic, innocent. The music I heard, Persian traditional music filled with sadness and sorrow. That is because of the history of the culture itself. So what does this mean? Your senses are conditioned by the space you occupy. Now, if you live in Oakland, your eyes see violence, for example. Then every time you walk out with a sibling called paranoia. Something I don't have. But living in this culture, you slowly begin to have. Now, I'm not adding temperament to this, that some of us are born introverts, some of us are born extroverts. Introverts take the stuff in, and they get down and dirty, they get sad, they get depressed, they internalize things. They have a lot of intense emotions, and they have no idea what to do with them. And it doesn't matter how much money you give them, it doesn't matter how much fame you give them, there are moments, many moments for introverts, especially unrefined, immature introverts, where they sit back and they just find themselves in a great amount of sadness. It's like this rug has been pulled from under their feet. Extroverts, when experiences go inside them, it gives them relevance and meaning and direction. Okay, so remember, who you are is not the creation of God, what you read in Genesis, the image of God or this or that. You are nothing, so am I, nothing but a rat created by the environment in which you live. And your environment creates prejudice, it creates bias. Your parents are a Christian, you become a Christian. If your parents are a Christian but they drink and do drugs and physically abuse you, you become an atheist. Or you become a different version of Christian. If you live here, your parents get old, you shoot them off to a nursing home. You live in India, you take care of them. The other thing about the senses you should know is that whenever you gravitate towards anything out there, it is because organically your senses find something attractive. I don't know how we become attracted to things, but all of a sudden something just enters into us and you say, yes, I like it, I want more of it. It's like your first time drinking coffee. It looks dark and black and it looks nasty. You put it to your mouth and say, my God, this tastes really good. Did you sit somewhere, reflect on this? Did you read a book about this? No, your taste buds will tell you. It is the most basic, organic, instinctual, and intuitive thing that you and I will ever do in our lives. Allow our senses to guide us. They know what they find to be attractive. Human beings can also occupy 3, 4, 5 different stages. Iron. The Hindus call this kama. Iron symbolically refers to the genitalia. It's what Freud called the id. It's what Karl Marx called the alienated self. It's what Jesus Christ called the rich young man who prefers the world but not his soul. It's dense. You want something that's immediate, the basic pleasures of life. But you don't have the patience to sit and figure out how you can obtain them. You always go for the quickest path. Always. Now, if you pay attention, some of you in this class who are somewhat young, lack experience and lack life, when you go to a party, you look at someone with your eyes and you find them somehow attractive and you walk towards them. What exactly are you finding yourself attracted to? Eyes, nose, hair. And then their mouth opens. Now your ears hear the tone of their voice. And then your mind says, they think well, or they don't think too well. And then whenever you spend time with someone, that person grows on you. But remember, the foundation of that particular relationship is based on iron. Now, there comes a point where you have smoked too much, you've drank too much, you've had this a bit too much, and I don't know how or why, something about you says, I'm tired of all this. I'm 30 years old, I should have be done with school like long time ago, I'm still stuck. I want to go back and enroll at Laney or Stanford or somewhere and finish this up. Now here it is. When you have lived in the iron stage and remember, you will fall in love, you will have philo, you will have love, but all of your loves will revolve around things that live in the world of iron. You will love Britney Spears, and you will love Miley Cyrus and Snoop Dogg. You will love them, you will love their music, you will love your companions. Now, since the senses, the 5 senses, have a timetable, in other words, you see something that's attractive out there, but you don't have it, but you want it. That attraction creates poverty. It's very, very weak. It's a tiny little seed. And then as you begin to imagine, I wonder how this will be. if I was to have what I desire, what I want, this will create a desire. Your poverty grows now. Now, some of you may be depressed, and it is that you want to get yourself out of depression. Some of you don't have a car, but you do want a car. These are all things that you and I desire, but there's a science to it. Now, whenever you desire something, it's because you don't have it. Now, we're not talking about lust just yet. We're not talking about greed just yet. Greed and lust are two different things. You have greed because you have experienced something, you have tasted it, you like it, you want more of it. And that's why you have an extra fridge in the garage. And greed is good. It's good because human life is unsecure. We don't know what waits for us 5 years from now or 5 minutes from now. Lust is rooted in attraction. You see something and you lust after it, you want it. Now, the moment you desire something, if you nourish the seed, you will begin to want it. I want, and you want because you don't have. But what is lacking in want is the emotional aspect of it. See, you want a Porsche, you want a degree, you want this, you want that, and it's all great. But the reason why nothing ever changes because the want never morphs into a need. The moment you have a need, you will sit by your phone and you will wait for this person to call you. You will not move. صد فصل بهار آید و بیرون ننهم گام ترسم که بیایی تو و در خانه نباشم. Many seasons come and go, but I will never leave my room. Because just in case I leave and you knock on the door and I'm not there, I will miss seeing you. So when the need is intense, it means that whatever it is that you all of a sudden need consumes. This consumes you. This occupies a little space inside you. This occupies a bit of more space inside you. This occupies maybe 40% inside you. The moment you have a need, you are desperate. 85% of what lives inside you is the object of your need. And many of us in this class have had those experiences. We fall in love with Jack and Janet. We fall in love with alcohol and drugs. They do create needs inside us. And whenever you need something, you don't have it. And by default, you will suffer. It is part of being human. And the more you suffer, the thicker your skin grows, if you give it some time and some training. Pain is good. The moment you want and need something, you become a political animal. You sit back and you say, I need a car. How do I go about obtaining a car? Should I sell my jacket? Should I sell my sister, my brother? Should I start selling drugs? Should I get a job? And now you think about the pros and cons and how you want to satisfy this need. Eventually, if you are lucky enough and have the proper resources, your need will be given to you. Jack will walk into your life. You will have Jack. Now you possess it. Now here's the problem with possession. So you have 3 journeys then. You have your journey towards the object of desire. That's the first journey. You see something you like, you journey towards it. Then, now you have Jack. Jack lives with you. You live with Jack. You get to see who and what he is, what he likes, what he doesn't like, his temperament, his addictions, his history. You're no longer journeying towards Jack. Now you're journeying inside Jack. You get to see him for what he or she is. The tragedy and the painful aspect of being a human is this. There comes a point where you have seen enough of Jack. For some strange reason, attraction is there no more. Desire is there no more. Wanting Jack is there no more. Needing Jack is there no more. All of a sudden, the desires change. I want to go for a walk just by myself. If 2 months ago you waited 10 hours by the phone for Jack, now you can't wait for Jack to leave so you can just have your own space. The moment you have journeyed inside whatever desire you had and now you have, there comes a point where you become saturated. It no longer gives you value. It no longer gives you meaning or relevance. You need to read the New Testament 1,000 times until you realize it no longer provides you answers. Now you become a different kind of a student. Once you become saturated, you have a different kind of poverty. I no longer care about Jack, but I want this relationship to be around. And now you begin to make some serious compromises. You begin to carry a different kind of a cross. I don't want to be here, but I don't want to get old alone, and I don't want to die alone, and I don't want to eat alone. All tolerate. Now that doesn't mean that you will not experience moments of love and passion and excitement. You will. But for the most part, the need that was the anchor to this relationship goes away. This is what we call iron. Now, once you become saturated and you become tired, and remember, no one knows how this stuff works, at least I don't know. If there was a way for any of us to educate and to know how people become educated, I assure you, Jesus, Malcolm, the Buddha, Mohammed, Confucius would have done this stuff long time ago. There would be no need for Plato to write this thick volume of books. We don't really know how we graduate people to go from one stage to another. Next is what we call bronze. Bronze is the abdomen area. If here, drugs give you a sense of power, here, money, education gives you a sense of power. I no longer want to go home and get high to escape from the realities and miseries of life. I'm not looking for cheap excitements anymore. Something about you has changed. You see yourself way in the future. I want to buy a house. I want to have a companion. I want to move out of Oakland. I am 35. I'm not getting any younger, any more attractive. I'm getting uglier and older and more smelly. I need to make some changes. All of a sudden, you get into the bronze. You enroll in classes. You get rid of working at Home Depot. Great job, don't get me wrong. But now something about you says, I want something different. Now, if you move into bronze without fully understanding iron, whatever money you make up here, you will take it here and buy drugs with it. You will take the money down here and you buy a Porsche with it. And you will continue to live in a studio. If you graduate from down here, understand the iron stage very, very good, you will take this money and you will save it for a house. Maybe you'll feed the homeless. The same thing will happen to bronze as happened in the iron. The problem with bronze is this. If you are sad and depressed and you want your dopamine level to go up, do some drugs. 10 minutes later, you're way up there. If on the other hand, you want to graduate with an MA or a BA, that's 4 years of waiting, 4 years of ridiculous busy work. You have to forgive your instructors, you have to forgive yourself, you have to look the other way because you know the work you're doing is nonsense, yet you need the paper. So if the wait, the attainment of desires down here is an hour, the attainment of the desire for a degree is about 4 years. It'll give you discipline. You'll become responsible. You have a different self-image of yourself. If down here you are happy by doing drugs, that's how you see yourself. Up here, you say, I will love myself if I get a degree. If you're down here, your companions will be those who have similar desires. If you're here, if you want to focus on your school, people down here will corrupt your desire. Okay? So you want to make sure that if you're ambitious enough to finish your career as an academician, you want to get a BA or an MA or a PhD, don't hang out with losers. Don't hang out with people who are on the stage. Now, some of us in this class, you may be up here, okay? You may take school seriously. You have a kid, brother or sister who don't take school seriously. And you keep going, knocking on the door saying, bro, I need to talk to you. Keep the wisdom of Jesus somewhere inside you. You can't make the grass grow by pulling it. It doesn't matter how many times you tell your brother not to do ABCD. You can make him or her feel guilty for 5 or 10 minutes, but eventually they'll go back to the person they've always been. So you will fall in love, okay? If your hero down here, for example, is Miley Cyrus and Lil Wayne, your hero up here is your brother or your dad or someone who has a degree or has a job, secure, has a house, that's what you want. There comes a point that the bronze no longer gives you satisfaction. You say, you know what, I want something different, and you move up to silver. Silver is about the chest area. It's about human relationships. Down here, all about you. You are the center of the universe. Your emotions, your passions, your issues, your problems, your heartache. Here, my degree. When it comes to silver, for the first time you realize in life, it's just good to have good people in your life. People who are mature, who are stable, who will provide you with additional anchors. Just in case something goes wrong in your life, you can depend on them. Codependency. Then you go out on a date. You don't ask the questions I used to ask when you were in the iron stage. You don't care about cheap entertainment. You don't care about cheap bodies grinding against one another. You don't care about how much money they have or they make. You want to know if they're mature intellectually, if they've gone to school, how their relationship is with their own parents, if they have any children. You become an archaeologist. You go inside them. And you try to discover their history. And then you go away saying, okay, does that history fit mine? Well, the more things you have in common, the longer your relationship will last. Silver, it's about human relationships. For the first time, you realize the money that you make, you want to buy your mom a car. You take groceries for them. You invite them for dinner. If you're married, if you have a companion, once in a while, or maybe oftentimes, you sacrifice your own needs to make this other person happy because you value something about them and the relationship. Oakland is a great place to have fun. It's just awful for kids. So what you do is you sacrifice. I'm going to go to a different town. It's no longer about you. You make the sacrifice. Now, like Jesus Christ, as He sacrificed supposedly His life for human beings, you now sacrifice your life so that your kids can have a better life. Something you could never do down here and something you could never do down here. And women are really good at this. Here's the thing you need to know about iron, bronze, and silver. Remember, power doesn't just come with money. You can read a lot of books and you can be intellectually powerful. You could know the New Testament inside and out. And you can even be very animated. And you could be emotionally and intellectually powerful. And as long as you have richness about you, you are very much like the rich young man encountering Jesus Christ. You have to sell everything. Poverty is the key. Depression is the key. But that is not for these three areas. Iron, bronze, and silver have to do with our physical life in the physical world. If you don't have these three areas, if they're not healthy, you're not going to go very far in your intellectual life. You could be a Noam Chomsky. But upon someone getting very close to you, they will realize what a disaster of a human being you are. Always go back to Abraham Maslow. The basics. Remember, we are only talking about love now. I'm not talking about philo iron or philo bronze or philo silver. This is philosophia. The task of philo love, eros, agape. The task of this particular love in philosophy, you fall in love with wisdom. The problem with wisdom is this. See, the five senses, what they do, as I'm talking to you right now and I'm giving you data or information, you have data, i.e. information. You can get data information from anywhere, but that's all you have, information. Now, if you're really focused on a certain branch in life, the more information you have, hopefully, the more your capacity to kind of bring all this different data or information in a very coherent way. If you're able to do that, what you will now have is knowledge. And that's not difficult. You just need to be focused and a bit passionate. People can have great amounts of knowledge about philosophy, book reading, I mean, or read the Quran, or read the New Testament, or know a lot of things about black history, or brown history, whatever history, it doesn't really matter. They can be very knowledgeable. Remember, knowledge means the following. You have to be able to piece together, weave information in a very nice way that you yourself can understand. The problem with simply being knowledgeable is that you are going to be missing so many different aspects or branches of sciences that exist in life. See, when I talk about the rich young man, and for those of you who don't know the story, there is a guy, okay? He has lots of money. And remember, rich young man means the following. First, you are rich. You can have money. You can have degrees. You can have relationships. You can be rich in a variety of different ways. But there is something about the human being, despite all the physical richnesses that you and I may have, we hunger for something. I'm not quite sure what it is. Everything about your life is good, and yet there is this yearning, there is this longing. He probably has heard Jesus talk, and for whatever the reasons are, he hears it with his ears. But what he hears goes into these mysterious places inside us human being. He becomes attracted. He goes to this guy and says to Jesus, says, listen, how do I get to the kingdom of God? Now, kingdom of God is something we haven't yet talked about. It's what we call gold. It's indestructible. This is a place of autonomy, individuality, creativity. It houses wisdom, not yet the expression of wisdom. All you know is that there is something mysterious that you now possess. When we talk about Sophia, it is a goddess. The only thing she possesses is wisdom. Sophia doesn't care if you're in love with your body. She doesn't care if you're in love with Brad Pitt's body. She doesn't care about your degrees, about how much savings account money you have. She doesn't care about how good you are to your wife or to your husband or to your kids, to your parents. Sophia says, look, your lifespan is short, 0 to about 40, 50, 60, 70. What benefit is there for man to gain iron, bronze, and silver, and in the end lose his own soul? On the deathbed say, I've done so many things and yet I feel so poor. All these three different areas of life, iron, bronze, and silver, they create their own unique set of addictions. I read, I don't feel, but that's okay. I feel, but I don't think, and that's okay. And it's going to take a long time for the thinking and feeling to come together harmoniously. These three areas create addictions. Now, Sophia says, I will come to you, but first you have to fall in love with me. If you don't fall in love with me, you can't get wisdom. Now, here's the way love works. The best I can express, that every time I try to explain, express, define what love is, I am humbled by the fact that I fall short all the time. چون قلم در می نوشتن می شتافت، چون به عشق آید، قلم از خود شکافت. That my pen was moving so fast, writing about all sorts of things. The moment it came to expressing love, it ceased to write. Love is one of those mysterious components of human life that can't be described or explained well. So let me try to be arrogant enough to try to put this on the board the best I can. There are two giants in the world of philosophy, and they are basically the fountainheads of philosophy. One's name is Socrates, the other is Plato. Plato has great parents. Plato is about 17, 18. His parents are very rich, money-wise. And emotionally, he has a great relationship. His mother is religious, his father is religious, but he's also a lawyer. And he trains Plato how to think well. So what you have is a young 17-year-old who is privileged in the iron stage. He's healthy, he's privileged in the bronze stage, he can think well, and he's got great relationships. Add to it, Plato, for 3 years in a row, he submits plays to a committee, and he wins them. It's a competition. Imagine a 17-year-old, keep winning your ego, how you think about yourself. Something really, really interesting happens. One day, Plato is walking to this committee to hand over his plays, to win yet another competition. Tragically enough, he runs into this man whom we call Socrates. Socrates asks him, where are you going? What are you doing? For whatever the reasons are, and remember, from what history has told us, Socrates is not really attractive to the eye. He's profoundly ugly. And yet, despite what our senses tell us about Socrates, Plato looks at him and says, and feels, there is something really, really interesting about this man, and I don't know what it is. It's a tiny little seed. Socrates and Plato talk a little bit. Remember, Socrates is about like 50 or 60 and Plato is 70. How do seeds grow? You water them. You nourish them. You give them light. You give them air. Do you know what Socrates does? I sense, he says to himself, that Plato, this young kid, is attracted to me. Now, whenever any of us in this class think we have something relatively valuable to offer, whether it's our physical body or emotional body or intellectual body, we want to share that with another human being. All good teachers are looking for a customer. In fact, all of us in this class are looking for a customer to listen to our laments, to hear our stories, to pay attention to our history. That would make us valuable and relevant and significant. See, when you pay attention to my eyes, I just glance around the class. Some people I don't even make eye contact with. I have nothing in common with them. They mean nothing to me. They have zero value. Some people with whom I make eye contact, something about me says, oh man, they are con artists. They really know how to pretend well. And some say, yes, they are paying attention. They're inspired, but it won't go very far. When there is the seed of attraction has been nourished a little bit, all of a sudden curiosity comes about. You become a bit more curious. You begin to ask, you whisper to yourself questions you didn't ask before. Who is he? What is he talking about? Why is he so mysterious? These are the things that were happening inside Plato's. And Socrates knows that, if I just tell him bye, this seed is going to get crushed. And this seed is going to get crushed. How do I protect what I have planted? Socrates, again mysteriously, becomes very, very attractive to Plato. That's the seed. That's all you need. Once that seed lives inside someone, it's the task of the other person, i.e. Socrates, to protect what's been created. Now, for those of you in this class, again, I go back to the New Testament because it's a the Gospels, great 4 books. And again, you don't have to be religious, just good books to read. The farmer's story. There is this guy who's a farmer. He's walking around with a bag of seeds, but the bag has a hole in it. Some seeds fall on cement. That's one category of people. It doesn't matter what you tell them. It doesn't matter what experience you give them. They're like concrete. It will never penetrate. They're useless unless you're able to go to Home Depot and rent a jackhammer. But for you to do that, you have to be able to see potential in them. My recommendation, don't do it. Just walk away. You have another category of people. Good soil. They feel well, they think well, so you plant the seed and they take the seed. But then you say, so tell me about your life. I got 5 kids, I got a wife, I got a sick mom, I'm going to school, I have a this, I have a that. You say, oh my God, too many things on their plate. These are the vultures that will come down. The busyness and the politics of life, they will destroy the seed of attraction. Let them go. There is another category of people, they are ready, man. Seed goes inside them, and they will allow you to nourish them. And those are the people you want to focus on. Not the concrete, and not people whose lives are extremely busy. They have health issues and other issues. So once the seed of curiosity is protected and nourished, it turns into interest. And by interest, you text them once in a while, you email them once in a while, you go to the library to figure out who and what they are once in a while, all that. The only way this can be possible is when Plato or any one of us in this classroom spends physically, time with another human being. Now, keep in mind that if you have a relatively healthy iron life, if you have a relatively healthy bronze life, if you have a relatively healthy silver life, you don't want Socrates in your life because he's going to make you feel like crap if you have desires in the iron or the bronze or the silver. He wants to give you gold, nothing else. He wants to make sure you fall in love with gold. When the seed of interest is protected and nourished. Infatuation. Now you have the emotion that gets in. And you know what infatuation is? You focus on your math, you focus on history, you focus on psychology, and you say, I'm interested in philosophy maybe a little. Infatuated. Infatuation means you walk into your math class and you say, for some strange reason, I'm just interested in philosophy. I can't focus on my math. Infatuation. It occupies about 60-70% of your soul. If this does not get crushed or destroyed by events in life, you get to a different place called obsession. Obsession means, means you wake up in the morning, the first thing that comes to mind is Socrates. Then you walk to the bathroom, as you're sitting and doing whatever, you say, Socrates. As you go to make yourself toast and cream cheese, you say, Socrates. There is no place you can go where Socrates is not. And it is devastating. Because you are married, but you think about Socrates. You have a job, but you think about Socrates. And all of a sudden you realize this stranger is now occupying so many parts of your life that your old life is not functioning well. And then time passes, you get to this place called love. You're not going to fall in love with the body of Socrates. You're not going to fall in love with the emotions or the intellect of Socrates because you don't yet understand them. And because you don't understand who and what Socrates is and what lives inside him, you can't respect him the way he wants you to. All you know is that you love him.